The fragile peace that has characterized the post-Cold War era has been shattered by a dangerous and explicit escalation of nuclear saber rattling between the United States and the Russian Federation. The international community is now holding its breath as the world's two foremost nuclear powers engage in a public display of military might that has resurrected the darkest fear of global thermonuclear war. This terrifying new chapter in international relations was triggered by Moscow's thinly veiled threat to employ its apocalyptic dead-hand nuclear retaliation system, a statement of ultimate deterrence that left no room for misinterpretation. In a decisive and swift response, United States President Donald Trump ordered the immediate deployment of 2 nuclear ballistic missile submarines to strategic, undisclosed locations, a powerful countermove designed to demonstrate American resolve and the survivability of its own second strike capability. This direct exchange of nuclear posturing, moving beyond the conventional military sphere and into the realm of strategic deterrence, signals a perilous shift in the geopolitical landscape. The world is now witness to a raw and unfiltered flaunting of nuclear prowess, a high-stake contest of will where the potential for a catastrophic misstep has grown exponentially. The context for this alarming development is the recent entry into service of Russia's Oreshnik hypersonic missile, a weapon that has already altered the strategic balance. However, the invocation of doomsday weapons and the reactive movement of nuclear assets have elevated the conflict to an entirely new and more terrifying level, making the abstract threats of nuclear annihilation tangible and present danger for millions around the globe. The catalyst for this sharp escalation was a chilling statement from a high-ranking official within the Russian Ministry of Defense. While not explicitly naming the system, the official's references to a guaranteed and overwhelming response to any decapitating first strike on Russia was universally understood by intelligence agencies and defense analysts as a clear allusion to the parameter system, more commonly known by its ominous moniker, the dead hand. This system represents the absolute last resort in Russia's nuclear doctrine. It is a failed deadly mechanism designed to ensure a retaliatory nuclear holocaust is unleashed upon an aggressor even if the entire Russian leadership and conventional command and control structure has been completely annihilated. The concept is both technologically complex and terrifyingly simple. In the event of a suspected nuclear attack on Russian soil, the system is activated. It then monitors a network of seismic light and radiation sensors for signs of nuclear detonations. If nuclear hits are confirmed, and if the system is unable to establish communication with the high command at the general staff, it autonomously initiates the launch of Russia's entire land-based nuclear arsenal. It effectively takes the human element out of the final decision to retaliate, guaranteeing that a first strike against Russia will result in mutual assured destruction. The decision by Moscow to publicly allude to the dead hand system is a move of profound psychological significance. For decades, the system's existence was a subject of shadowy speculation, a ghost in the machine of the Cold War. To bring it into the light of public discourse, even through veiled language, is a deliberate act of strategic communication. It is Russia's ultimate trump card, a message to the United States that no amount of technological superiority, whether through hypersonic missiles or advanced missile defense, could ever ensure a successful first strike without inviting total self-destruction. It is a stark reminder that the logic of mutual assured destruction, the grim principle that kept the peace during the Cold War, is still very much in effect. The threat is not about winning a war, but about ensuring that no one can win. By raising the specter of an automated apocalypse, Russia is attempting to redraw the boundaries of the conflict. It is a psychological tool intended to sow fear and caution within the strategic calculations of the White House and the Pentagon, forcing them to consider the ultimate consequences of pushing Russia too far. The international reaction to this statement has been one of universal dread. For a generation that grew up after the fall of the Berlin Wall, the imminent threats of nuclear war was a distant historical concept. The Russian statement has brought that terror back into the present day, creating a palpable sense of anxiety across the world. The response from the Trump administration was immediate. forceful, and unambiguous. President Donald Trump, adhering to his long-held doctrine of peace through strength, refused to allow what he termed Russia's reckless and dangerous rhetoric to go unanswered. He convened an emergency meeting of his National Security Council, which includes Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Following the briefing, President Trump authorized a direct and visible demonstration of American nuclear capability. He ordered the United States Navy to deploy 2 of its Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines. These vessels, often referred to as boomers, are the most survivable and critical components of America's nuclear triad, which also includes land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles and strategic bombers. The purpose of this deployment is to send a clear and unmistakable message back to Moscow. While Russia may threaten with a system that guarantees retaliation after a strike has landed, the United States has a system that guarantees an overwhelming response from a location that cannot be found. The Ohio-class submarine is one of the most formidable war machines ever created. It is a nearly 170-meter-long vessel of stealth and power, capable of remaining submerged for months at a time. Its nuclear reactor providing virtually unlimited range and endurance. Its true power, however, lies in the 20 Trident II D5 submarine launch ballistic missiles it carries in its vertical launch tube. Each Trident missile is a weapon of immense destructive potential, capable of traveling over 7,000 miles and delivering multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles, or MIRVs, to different targets with pinpoint accuracy. This means that a single undetectable submarine holds the power to obliterate dozens of cities in a retaliatory strike. The core strength of the submarine-based deterrent is its stealth. At any given time, a number of these submarines are on patrol in the vastness of the world's ocean. Their exact locations unknown to anyone but a very small numbers of individuals in the highest level of the U.S. Navy and government. An adversary can never be certain of where all the American boomers are, and therefore can never be certain of destroying them in a first strike. This guarantees that even if a surprise attack were to wipe out every American city, military base, and leadership center, the silent hunters patrolling the deep would survive to unleash a devastating counterattack. The order from President Trump to deploy 2 of these submarines is not a routine patrol. It is a deliberate act of strategic signaling. While the submarines' locations will remain secret, the fact of their deployment has been made public. This is a move to directly counter the psychological impact of the dead hand threat. It is a way of telling Russia that its ultimate deterrent is matched by Americans' ultimate deterrent. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth elaborated on the military posture in a press briefing at the Pentagon. He stated that the deployment were a prudent and necessary measure to ensure the credibility of our strategic deterrent in the face of escalating threats. He emphasized that the United States does not seek conflict, but it will not be intimidated. He described the submarines as a stabilizing force, as their survivability removes any incentive for an adversary to attempt a disarming first strike. He assured the American people and global allies that the United States military is at its highest state of readiness and is prepared to defend the nations and its interests. On the diplomatic front, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been engaged in a flurry of communications with allied nations, particularly within NATO. His mission is to reassure allies that the United States remain steadfast in its security commitments and to coordinate a unified diplomatic response to Russia's action. Secretary Rubio has emphasized that President Trump's decision was not a move toward war, but a move to create the condition for de-escalation from a position of undeniable strength. The message to allies is one of solidarity and resolve. The message to Russia is that its attempt to use nuclear threats to divide the alliance will fail. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard's office provided the critical intelligence assessment that informed the president's decision. Her analysis likely highlighted the seriousness and credibility of the Russians' rhetoric, concluding that it could not be dismissed as a mere bluff and required a tangible demonstration of American capability to prevent any miscalculation by Moscow. This episode of nuclear flaunting has plunged the world into a new and frightening era. The unspoken rule that governed the behavior of nuclear power for decades appeared to be eroding. In the past, Nuclear threats were conveyed through subtle signaling and back channels. Today, they are being made in public statements and answered with highly visible military deployment. This public performance of nuclear readiness is incredibly dangerous. It normalized the idea of nuclear conflict, increased pressure on leaders to appear strong and decisive, and shrinks the space for diplomacy and de-escalation. Every move and counter-move is scrutinized on the world stage, creating a hair-trigger environment where a technical malfunction, a communications error, or a simple misunderstanding could be misinterpreted as the prelude to an attack, potentially leading to an irreversible chain of events. The stability of the world now rests on the steady hands and cool heads of a small number of leaders in Washington and Moscow, as they navigate a crisis that has brought the specter of nuclear war out of the history books and into the headlines of today's news. The silent deployment of the 2 American submarines is a testament to the gravity of the situation, a deadly serious move in a game where the stakes are the survival of civilization itself. Many of my listeners, like 70%, have not subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so many of you don't even know that you have not subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to World Global Conflict, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.